When she told me, "You do nothing anyway," I froze. It wasn't the words. It was the way she said them, flat, like she was reading a grocery list. No hesitation, no shame, just another order tossed my way, like always. I was standing by the window in my kitchen, watching the neighbor's dog sniff at the flower beds. And there it was. My sister-in-law's voice crackling through the speakerphone, delivering a command that sliced through the quiet. "You do nothing anyway, just watch the kids while I travel." I didn't answer right away. Instead, I stared out at the dog, pretending to care about where it would pee next, just to delay. 42 years old, a homeowner, employed, self-sufficient, and yet reduced to the family errand girl in seconds. They've always called me dependable, like that's a compliment. But dependable has another meaning. The one they depend on when it's inconvenient for them. It's the name they slap on you when they've decided your life matters less than theirs. That day, I wasn't just being asked to babysit, I was being told, again, that my time, my plans, my needs didn't count. And the worst part? They said it like I should be grateful. She didn't even bother with pleasantries. "Hey, so I'm flying out to Phoenix next Thursday. Can you watch the kids? I'll be gone 4 days." I blinked. "Next Thursday?" "Yeah," she said, like I should have known. "You don't have anything going on, right?" The way she said it, casual, sharp, like me having nothing going on was a permanent state, like it was a given. Actually, "Oh, come on. You're always home. It's just 4 days. You don't even have kids, so this should be easy." That one landed like a slap. I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. I'd heard that line before. From her. From others. The subtle accusation that because I wasn't a mother, I must not be tired. Must not have a life. Must not matter. She didn't ask. She expected, like she always did. "I'll think about it," I managed to say. Silence on her end. Then a laugh. "What's to think about?" I didn't answer. I ended the call politely, then stood in the kitchen, phone still in hand, heart racing. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I never do. I've trained myself not to. I called my brother, hoping maybe he'd see it. The imbalance. The entitlement. "She just needs help," he said. "It's not like you're doing anything, right?" It was like watching someone shrug while tossing a brick through your window. I tried Mom next. "You always help," she said. "Don't rock the boat now. She's family." "She's not even asking. She's assigning." I pushed. "And you're always so dramatic," she sighed. That word, dramatic. It's what they say when they want you to shut up without having to listen. My family doesn't yell. They dismiss. It's quieter that way. More polite, but the wound is the same. My sister texted me later. "Group chat? Not a big deal. Just say yes. She trusts you with them." No one asked why she didn't take the kids, or why she never gets asked at all. I was starting to see it, the pattern, the script, the silent agreement they all made, that I was the one who'd absorb the mess, that if I didn't, I was the problem. And I felt it, deep in my chest. The squeeze, the weight, that old familiar choke of being unheard. If I do it, I'll lose myself, I thought. If I don't, I'll be exiled. It wasn't the first time. Years ago, when Dad got sick, I dropped everything to move back in and help. They said thank you once, then disappeared into their own lives again, as if it was expected, as if it never cost me anything. When I was a kid, my room was the one they used as overflow. Guests stayed there, storage boxes piled up. I was told not to complain. It's just easier this way. My boundaries have always been elastic, stretchable, erasable. For the greater good, they'd say, and I believed them, until I didn't. That night, I pulled out an old journal I hadn't touched in years, flipped through pages of worn handwriting until I found the one that stopped me cold. "Don't forget who you are," I had written. I must have been 19. I remembered the day. I'd skipped a cousin's wedding to help Mom prep for another event. No one remembered. No one asked. That sentence felt like a whisper from my younger self. A small fire lit inside my chest, nothing big, just enough to warm my spine. I closed the journal. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I sat quietly, holding that moment like a stone in my hand, and for the first time in a long time, I let myself feel rebellion. What if I didn't do it? Not what if I said no. That wasn't big enough. What if I changed the whole game? I looked at my calendar. There it was, a day trip I had planned for myself. Something small, something personal. I'd canceled it last week when she mentioned her trip. Just in case, I'd told myself. Be available. Available, like a shelf, like an afterthought. I reopened the calendar and marked it back in pen. Then I sat back and stared at it. They trained me to erase myself. Now they expected me to be blank. I had always played the part they gave me, until the moment I asked, what if I wrote my own lines? I was sweeping the porch when her car pulled into the driveway like she owned the place. Bellamy stepped out with that signature breeze of entitlement. Designer sunglasses, tailored trench coat, lips pressed in a practiced smile. The kids tumbled out behind her, already bickering over snacks. She didn't wave, she didn't ask. She popped the trunk, pointed at the bags and said, "Can you grab those?" Just like that. No hello. I walked over slowly. There were 3 suitcases, one of them clearly too heavy for a weekend. Expensive, monogrammed. She swept past me toward the front door, the kids trailing her like ducklings. I followed with the luggage, no idea what I was walking into, but knowing, in my bones, it wasn't good. She didn't stop to ask if I had time or space. She walked right in, talking over her shoulder. "I'll need you to make sure Maddie takes her allergy meds twice a day. And don't let Liam have soda, he'll bounce off the walls." I stepped inside and closed the door behind me. "I thought you were leaving next week." "Oh, I moved it up," she said, waving off my question. "I didn't want to bother you with the details. This gives you something to do, you know? Gives you purpose." I stared at her. Purpose? Funny how people always frame exploitation as opportunity. She was already in the kitchen, rearranging things. "You've got almond milk, right? Maddie won't drink anything else. And please keep screens limited, especially after dinner. I want them reading, not rotting their brains." The children were already spreading out, Liam dumping Legos in the living room, Maddie flipping through the pantry. My house. But suddenly it wasn't. Bellamy turned, handed me a folder. "What's this?" "Schedule, food rules, emergency contacts. I left cash in there too, just in case you need to get them anything." "Don't go overboard, though. They're not royalty." She laughed at her own joke. I didn't. "Auntie V, can we have the purple blanket for movie night?" Maddie called. Bellamy smiled. "See? They're already settled in. You're great at this. I knew you would be." She kissed my cheek, already halfway to the door. "Text me only if it's urgent. And don't forget, bedtime's at 9. She was gone before I could close my mouth. I looked around. My living room now had backpacks, stuffed animals, a half-eaten granola bar on the coffee table. It wasn't a visit. It was an occupation. An hour later, my phone buzzed. A cousin. "Heard you're babysitting again? That's so sweet of you." I blinked. Again. Another message popped up on the family group chat. "Bellamy deserves that trip. Solo parenting isn't easy." Photos of her boarding pass, her first-class mimosa, her finally a break smile, dozens of likes. No one mentioned me. No one asked if I had plans or feelings. "You're so good with kids," someone commented. "Always been nurturing." Nurturing. Is that what they call unpaid, unasked, unthanked labor? My throat tightened, but I swallowed it down. Nurturing isn't the same as being used, and this wasn't spontaneous. It had been discussed, maybe even planned, probably at my expense. My name brought up as the default backup, the one who doesn't mind. The free option. Bellamy didn't give me a choice. She just assumed I'd fall into the role again. And the worst part? Everyone else did too. That evening, after dinner, we were at the table doing homework. Liam tapped his pencil. "Mommy says you're not busy like her. That's why you watch us." I paused. Maddie chimed in without looking up. "She says you get weird when you're alone too long." I smiled somehow. My hands stayed still. Is that so? I said softly. Yeah, Liam shrugged. But we like it here. You're fun. I nodded, flipped the page in his workbook, pointed to the next question. Let's finish this before bath time, okay? But inside, I was hollowing out. Kids don't invent lines like that. They repeat them. How many times had Bellamy painted me that way? Lonely, bored, emotionally unstable? The story she told about me made her actions easier to justify. Even the children believed it. I looked at them, then at my reflection in the window. I looked fine, not sad, not unstable, just tired. And quietly, beneath that tired, something stirred. Something I hadn't felt in a while. Fire. Even when you're quiet, they'll put words in your mouth. I didn't text Bellamy. I didn't pick a fight. But I opened my journal and started writing. I wrote out my schedule, my real one, the things I had planned, the errands I'd postponed, the trip I'd canceled. Then I crossed some of those things out. Not to erase them, but to reclaim them. I rescheduled appointments. I blocked hours for reading, for walking, for silence. I told myself this wasn't rebellion, but it was. In its own quiet way. They gave me this role, but they didn't ask if I still wanted it. And that night, after they went to bed, I didn't cry. I planned. The message wasn't a question, it was a command. Dinner at Mom and Dad's. Friday. Bring the kids. Bellamy never asked anymore. She assigned. And this wasn't coming from her directly, but from her sister-in-law, Lisa, through a text with zero punctuation, like I was a member of the staff being notified of my shift. Bellamy's parents had always kept me at arm's length, smiles that didn't touch their eyes, compliments that circled back to Bellamy's excellence. I debated saying no, but there was something about the tone, the sudden gathering, that made me pause. It wasn't about food, it was about something else. I replied, sure, nothing more. That afternoon, Bellamy texted again. Don't forget to handle the car seats. You know how they get. Meaning, of course, I'd be driving the kids, managing bedtime snacks, and playing the cheerful assistant while she floated in, late unbothered. Friday evening rolled in thick with Texas heat. I parked outside the steakhouse, that same cookie-cutter chain where booths always smelled like fried onions and regret. The kids were chatty in the back, excited to see Grandma and Grandpa, blissfully unaware of the dynamics playing out just beneath the surface. Inside, the table was already half full. Bellamy sat dead center, surrounded like a queen. She looked up, gave me a two-finger wave, then went right back to her story about managing school schedules on top of everything else. I guided the kids into their seats. No one stood to help. No one asked how I'd been. Her mom leaned in toward Bellamy. You look so rested tonight. Bellamy chuckled. I've been learning to delegate boundaries. The whole table nodded approvingly. I poured apple juice into sippy cups while being referenced like a footnote. Her dad raised his glass. Glad to see you getting some help again. Lisa smiled at me, like I should be proud of myself, like I'd finally remembered my place. Bellamy launched into another story, this one about dropping the twins at soccer while answering work calls and organizing a fundraiser. No mention that I'd picked them up, fed them dinner, and typed up her speech while they colored beside me on the floor. She performed. They applauded. But in the corner, one of her cousins looked at me with something like pity. And Bellamy's eldest kept glancing between her plate and her mother, eyes narrowed. The wine kept flowing. So did the lies. When dessert came, over sweet chocolate cake, I was already half checked out. Just waiting for the check, the goodbye hugs, the release. That's when her oldest daughter slid next to me. She spooned a bite of cake, shrugged, and said, Mom said you should be grateful. You don't have anything else going on. I blinked. She said that? She nodded, like it was nothing. She told Uncle Pete you never got another job because you like when people feel bad for you. I froze, but not out of shock. The difference tonight was someone had finally said it out loud. I looked her in the eye. Thank you for telling me, sweetheart. She shrugged again, picked at the frosting, completely unaware of what she'd just handed me. I smiled, not the soft kind, the kind that comes when something settles inside you, something final. Bellamy didn't even glance our way. She was too busy telling everyone about how she finally started living again. I excused myself, used the restroom, washed my hands slow, looked in the mirror, then walked out and thanked her parents for dinner with a tone so even it bordered on polite mockery. We drove home in silence, kids asleep in the back, the hum of the tires like a drumbeat in my chest. I didn't cry, I didn't clench, I just let it all land. And I thought, they think this is the story, but the next chapter, that's mine. Back home, I tucked the kids in. Bellamy had sent a text, "Thanks for handling tonight," with a thumbs up emoji. I stared at it for a moment, then opened a blank page in my notebook. I wrote everything down, word for word, dates, tones, glances. I wasn't going to blow up. That's what they expected. Loud meant unhinged. Emotional meant unstable. No, I was going to do this with precision. The next morning, while Bellamy was still sleeping off her wine and applause, I started moving small things, my documents, a bag with essentials, laptop, chargers. I called my boss, yes, the one who always said, "Let me know when you're ready to do more." I said I was ready, no backstory. Then I pulled up the calendar, started carving out work hours that were just mine, no pickups, no play dates, no dinner preps that weren't for my own. I didn't need to yell. I didn't need revenge. I just needed distance. I told myself I'd give it one more week, and they wouldn't hear the door close. They'd just realize one day that it was quiet, too quiet, and I wouldn't be coming back. I used to think being the reliable one earned me respect, the steady hand, the fallback plan. But that morning, something shifted. After what my nephew let slip, his innocent remark about me being the other mom who doesn't get a thank you, I stopped lying to myself. It wasn't love or duty that kept me running errands, picking up messes, and explaining away insults. It was conditioning, survival disguised as service. That morning, I waited for Bellamy in silence. The kids were already dropped off. I brewed a fresh pot of tea, cleaned the clutter from the table, and sat with my hands folded. My shirt was pressed. I wore slacks instead of leggings. Not for her. For me. When the door finally opened, she walked in talking, loud and animated, phone pressed to her cheek. She gave me a quick glance, then headed for the fridge. "I need 10 minutes, I said, calm and low. She waved a hand without looking. "Give me a sec." I waited. She ended the call a minute later, phone still in hand. "What's this about?" "I'm stepping back," I said plainly. "Next week's my last helping out. You'll need someone else for school pickups, meals, all of it." She blinked at me, eyebrows lifted like I'd just spoken in another language. I didn't flinch. "I'm not angry. I'm done. There's a difference." Her mouth curled into that half-smile she used when she thought I was being emotional. "Overdramatic much?" she scoffed. "You're acting like you're chained in the basement. You help out. Big deal." "You don't get to decide what's a big deal for me," I said. She laughed, short and sharp. "You sound like one of those motivational mugs. My energy is sacred or whatever." I didn't respond. Not to that, not anymore. She shook her head, scrolling again. "Look, do what you need to do. Just don't expect me to throw a parade." I nodded. Didn't ask for one. She walked out, tapping on her phone. That was it. Later that night, after the dishes were done and the house quieted down, I walked past her room. Her voice leaked through the cracked door. She was on speakerphone with someone. A friend. Maybe one of those gossipy ones who always laugh too loud. She pulled the whole "I'm stepping back" speech today, Bellamy said, mocking my tone. "You'll need to make other arrangements." Then laughter. Hers and her friends. She thinks she's in some kind of Hallmark movie. I give it 2 days before she's back asking what time school lets out. More laughter. She even had tea ready, like it was a board meeting. She's got this whole dramatic thing going now. It's cute. I didn't move. I stood there, phone in hand. Hit record. No sound in me. Just a blank, steady awareness. Mockery doesn't sting when you've already detached. It just confirms what you knew. Back in my room, I sat down at my desk, pulled out my journal. I wrote, mocked again, but it didn't land. Then underneath, the minute she laughed, I knew I'd done the right thing. I thought about all the years I excused it, said they were just busy, just tired, just bad at expressing themselves. But it wasn't that. It was that I had made myself small enough to fit inside everyone else's needs. And no one noticed I was missing. I booked a therapy session before bed, first time in 6 months, not because I was breaking, but because I was finally rebuilding. No confrontation, no speech, just space. The next morning, after I got the kids out the door, I typed a message to Bellamy, straightforward. You'll need a sitter by Monday. I won't be available moving forward. 2 minutes later, she replied with a meme, one of those cheap ones, a cartoon woman crying under bold text that read, "Poor me." I stared at it, saved it, didn't reply. I opened my calendar and typed into the little box under Monday, "Freedom starts." This wasn't a tantrum, wasn't an ultimatum, it was a boundary. And she didn't take it seriously, but I did. I wasn't planning revenge, I was planning release. The week began with a rhythm I knew too well. Bellamy's texts flooded in, urgent requests, updates, reminders. Don't forget to grab the kids' snacks. Is Emma's uniform clean? Thanks again, you're just too good at this. She acted as if last week's confrontation never happened, as though she expected me to fold. The kids were dropped off at school as usual, with no warning. I picked them up, drove home, the car silent except for their chatter. But inside I felt hollow. I wasn't angry, I was detached, numb. Numb isn't peace, it's exhaustion dressed up in silence. Thursday afternoon, I took the kids to the grocery store. The aisles were familiar, the lighting harsh, carts clattering. I rounded a corner and bumped into Marla, an aunt's neighbor, someone from family events. She looked surprised to see me with 2 kids. "Oh, look who's doing double duty," she said loudly, "helping Bellamy again. She told me you were happy to be back around family." Her words blistered me. Back around family, like I'd always belonged to her script. She assumed I was the default. My smile was tight. "She's generous," I replied. Marla leaned closer, voice dramatic. "She says you're her anchor." I bristled at the lie. My silence had allowed her to spin my role. Out there, I was savior. Inside her world, I wasn't even seen. She patted my shoulder. "You're doing good work." I nodded, turning away. I felt something settle in me, firm as granite. I knew my next move would not need noise. It would speak louder than any argument. Back home, I moved deliberately. Meals prepped for 1 week only, children's backpacks packed with labels, emergency contacts written clearly. I set small boundaries, no more extras, no more last-minute demands, precision over drama. That evening, I gathered the kids. "Next week," I told them softly, "you'll stay with your mom's friend after school. Aunt V won't be around." They stared, confused. "Why?" one asked. I reached across the table. "This is about grown-up things. You'll be safe. I love you." After they went to bed, I texted Bellamy, no preamble. "You'll need a sitter by Monday. I won't be available moving forward." She replied almost instantly, with a meme, cartoon woman crying. Caption, "Poor me." I stared at it. Saved it. Did not reply. The next afternoon, Bellamy arrived unannounced. Her posture urgent, her voice sweet, eyes scanning the kitchen. "Thought I'd drop by. Need help?" she teased. "I'm fine," I said. She hesitated. "You're serious about Monday?" Her tone cracked. "I am." Her face softened. "I just need you to hang on a bit longer. Things are hard right now." I met her gaze. "I've already held on longer than anyone had the right to ask." Her mask slipped. She turned and walked out without a word. That night, I sat at my desk. I finalized my plan. Schedule blocks for work, boundaries noted in my journal, important texts printed and sealed away. I wrote, "I'm not punishing her. I'm releasing myself." A quote floated in my mind. "Walking away sometimes has nothing to do with weakness and everything to do with wisdom." Just then, my email pinged. The subject line stared back. Bellamy's employer. In that quiet moment, I realized the world I built under their assumptions was starting to shake. It didn't begin with a bang, just a quiet, steady shift. I stopped saying yes. No more running extra errands, no more last-minute favors because someone else forgot. I kept my answers short, polite. Sorry, can't today. I didn't explain. I didn't bend. While the surface stayed still, I started gathering screenshots of every text Bellamy sent, especially the ones layered with guilt. Voice messages where her tone dipped just enough to be called manipulation. Receipts. So many receipts. I kept them in a manila envelope tucked behind cookbooks. I called Lucian. Am I crazy to think I might need a lawyer? No, you're smart, he said. Document everything. You've got more power than you think. Outside, the sun threw long shadows across my kitchen table. The blinds cut the light into stripes across my hands. I sat there, not moving, letting the sharpness of that moment settle in me. I wasn't numb anymore. I was honed. The next morning, I sipped coffee while my phone lit up. A post from Bellamy, some meme with a smiling woman holding a sign. If you choose rudeness, don't expect gratitude. Her caption read, just saying. A few minutes later, another. Selfish people always rewrite the past to feel better about themselves. Subtle? Not really. Calculated? Absolutely. People started messaging me, church friends, mostly. Hey, I hope you're okay. Just checking in. One woman I hadn't seen in months wrote, it's sad when families fall apart over nothing. I didn't respond, just saved each post, time-stamped it, emailed it to Lucian. So this is how they react when you stop shrinking, I said aloud, voice low. Afternoon crept in, and with it, Bellamy. She rang the doorbell with that same fake brightness she wore like perfume. The kids ran to her, hugs and high voices. She handed them a neatly wrapped box. This is from Aunt V, she said to me, loud enough for the walls to hear. Thanks again for watching them. I nodded once. No smile, no words, just watching. Later, after they tore through the paper, I picked up the tag. To the best kids, from Mom, Dad. Mom and Dad. I had bought that toy 3 weeks ago. My name had been on the original tag, until it wasn't. It wasn't just the lie. It was the theft of meaning, of memory. She wanted the kids to believe she gave, while I just filled space. I didn't confront her. I didn't scream. I let the silence hold weight. She glanced back at me, waiting for a reaction. I gave her nothing. That night, after dinner and dishes and bedtime stories, I sat down at my desk, opened a blank email. Hi everyone, I began. Just for transparency, the gift the kids received today was one I purchased on October 2nd. Please find the receipt attached, along with the original tag photo. I attached everything, CC'd Bellamy and a few other family members. Hit send. I sat back in the chair. My heart was racing, not from fear, but from clarity. It wasn't about making noise, it was about being seen. The house was quiet again, too quiet. My phone buzzed once. Bellamy hadn't replied, but someone else had. Are you okay? I saw what you posted. I typed back. I'm exactly who I've always been, just not invisible anymore. The envelope of evidence sat beside me. Thick now, organized, ready. I slept lightly. Around 5, the screen on my phone lit up. News alert. Family drama spills online. Local woman's social media meltdown draws attention. My name was in the headline. And just like that, the war got louder. I woke to quiet. No voices downstairs. No laughter from the back room. Bellamy and Dorian were gone, or hiding. I reached for my phone. Inbox empty. No messages, no signs. A text from a neighbor blinked on screen. Saw a photo posted. Did they crop you out again? I clicked. The image loaded. A family gathering. Every face intact, except mine. The caption read, Our perfect family evening. My place erased. My chest locked. I could taste the betrayal. This went beyond manipulation. This was erasure. I went through my backups. Old phone galleries. Lucian had got me into that folder. There it was. The original photo, uncropped, showing me standing next to Dorian, side by side, in the frame, whole. I pulled up metadata, noted who first shared it, who reposted it. Next, I opened the legal file I kept, missing benefit statements, bank records, accounts that should carry my name now blank. Everything drawn out, methodical, digital erasure, financial erasure. All combining into a system built around erasing me. My finger hovered over send, the confrontation ready, but patience held me back. That evening, Bellamy announced dinner at her parents' house. A toast to new beginnings, she called it. I arrived, cautious. Inside, a slideshow on the living room screen, the very image I'd seen earlier, scrolling through family moments, me absent. Faces of parents, cousins, nieces and nephews, no trace of me. Bellamy stepped forward, proud. Here's a snapshot of who matters, she said. A cousin leaned in, whispered, Where's Vera? Bellamy laughed lightly. She's behind the scenes, she answered. My pulse pounded. Tonight, I decided, I would break the silence. After the toast, after the thank yous, I stood. Room's chatter paused. Calm, I said, let me show you the original picture. I held up my phone. Their eyes flicked. The full version played. Faces all present, with mine included. Bellamy froze. Dorian shifted in his seat. I clicked slides of documents, benefit statements bearing my name, now altered. The air cracked. I said, I didn't come here to beg for acknowledgement. I came to reclaim truth. Silence stretched. My heart thundered. I turned. I walked out before dessert. No anger, no drama, just purpose. In the car, the weight of weeks and years and hidden layers of betrayal mixed with relief. I texted Lucian, ready when you are. My internal whisper followed. They thought erasing me was safer. They were wrong. As I pulled away, my phone lit up. A news alert. Crane Family Trust revisions uncovered. The envelope with the gift tag was still on my desk when the new invitation arrived. It was from Bellamy. A family tribute night at her parents' place. Tribute for what? For silence? For disappearing me frame by frame? The message was dressed in cheer, but it stank of orchestration. I knew better than to believe this was about healing. It was control, packaged as celebration. Still, I went. I didn't wear armor, just calm. I arrived 10 minutes early, not out of politeness, out of strategy. The slideshow was already cued on the TV screen in the living room. Photos rotated quietly, the room still in soft prep mode. Bellamy greeted me with an airbrushed smile. Glad you came, she said, voice all syrup. Guests started trickling in. I heard one whisper, she's never come early before. I stayed steady. I wasn't here to flinch or flare. I was here to watch how far they'd go. Bellamy dimmed the lights. We wanted to share something special, she said, stepping to the front. These are the moments that built us. The first clip rolled. A video montage, birthday candles, pool days, Thanksgiving prayer. In every single frame, my body was gone, faces lit up with laughter, but mine wasn't among them. I hadn't been forgotten. I'd been erased. The room buzzed with soft murmurs. Cousins glanced at one another. A few looked toward me, then back to the screen. Bellamy spoke again. This shows the heart of our family. I stayed seated. Still, letting that shame hang in the room like smoke, letting it sting. And then, I stood. I have something, I said. My voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. The room tilted toward me like a magnet. I walked to the center, opened my phone, and tapped play. The same video, except uncut. My face, my voice, my laughter. Right there, centered, alive. The silence turned rigid. Then I reached into my bag and pulled out the gift. The same one from weeks ago, the one Bellamy had relabeled. I held it up. This is the original, I said. Same wrapping, same toy. Here's the receipt. I showed the date, the timestamp, the tag with my name. It wasn't given out of gratitude. It was mine. And its story was stolen. Bellamy stood frozen. Her eyes darted toward Dorian. He avoided looking back. I wasn't done. This isn't about a gift. or a video. It's about theft, of identity, of history. A cousin near the back whispered, "That's not okay." Bellamy's mouth opened. Nothing came out. I looked at them all. "I'm not here for your applause. I'm here because pretending didn't work anymore." And with that, I turned and walked toward the door. I didn't slam it. I didn't cry. Outside, the air hit me like a reset. I stood on their porch and breathed, slow, deep. My heart was fast, but my hands didn't shake. Later that night, back in my living room, I replayed the uncut video alone. There I was, laughing with them, cooking, holding a nephew, all the pieces they thought no one would miss. I pressed pause. Then I went into every shared folder I had access to and deleted the cropped versions. One by one. I set my phone down and opened my journal. One line. I reclaim my face, my name, my gift. As I closed the cover, my phone buzzed. A message blinked across the screen. "You may have shown them, but can you prove they'll listen?" The days after that night stretched out in quiet. No texts, no calls, no family gossip trying to spin it in their favor. And oddly, I didn't miss it. The silence didn't feel like punishment anymore. It felt earned. I went back to my routines, grocery lists, morning coffee, checking the mail. But it all moved slower, lighter. My shoulders didn't carry the same weight. I didn't need to explain anything to anyone. The truth was out, and I had let it breathe without begging anyone to inhale it. I opened my journal again. It had been a while. I flipped through old entries, the words from when I still second-guessed myself, when I wrote like I was trying to be heard by people who never listened. Now, reading those pages, I didn't flinch. I felt grace. Wounds don't disappear, but they do stop bleeding. Midweek, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten envelope. Bellamy's handwriting. I stared at it for a minute before opening. It wasn't dated, but the first line told me it had been written before the family event. She wrote that she'd struggled with how I held power in silence, that my refusal to seek approval made her feel invisible, even when everyone else praised her. She said she resented me for not needing her validation, for being content without spectacle. She admitted to altering photos, controlling narratives, even some of the financial access. Not out of malice, she claimed, but fear that I'd always be the quiet contrast to her spotlight. It wasn't an apology, not really, more of a confession dressed as justification. I closed the letter and sat with it. No tears, no fire. I didn't hate her. I didn't forgive her either. But I understood her better, and somehow that was enough. A few days later, I got a message request on social media. It was from our old nanny, Marcia. I hadn't heard that name in decades. She wrote, "I know I'm probably the last person you'd expect to hear from, but I saw more than I let on back then." She went on. "Birthdays where my name was left off cakes, holidays where Bellamy got the first hug, the biggest gift, moments when I was blamed for things I didn't do. I always knew it was wrong," she said, "but I was paid to stay silent. I'm sorry I didn't speak up. It's haunted me." I didn't hesitate. I typed back, "Your silence back then hurt, but your voice now helps. Thank you." I meant it. Some parts of the past don't need fixing, they just need witnessing. I started spending time at a local mentorship group. Girls, young women, all figuring themselves out in a world that tells them to shrink. One teen, about 13, looked up at me one afternoon and asked, "How'd you get so confident?" I thought about it. All of it. Then I told her, "Because I learned that silence never saved me. Only speaking truth did." I wrote that line down later. It felt like the start of something I hadn't had before. Not a victory speech, just clarity. Back home, I tossed the old cropped video into the trash. No need to keep it anymore. It had lost its power the moment I stopped needing anyone to see it. This morning, I walked through the park, fall leaves underfoot, a breeze catching the edges of my coat. I saw a family sitting on a blanket, kids laughing, a mother leaning back, watching. I smiled, not because I missed that, but because I hoped they never had to fight to exist inside their own story. I whispered, mostly to myself, "You can rewrite your story. You don't need their permission." My phone buzzed in my pocket. A new mentee. Can we get coffee? I want to talk more about what you said. I smiled. Texted back. I'd love that. Let's talk truth.